Hey everyone, it's Classic DM, and we've been doing more videos lately on Pathfinder 2nd Edition with a huge emphasis and look and deep dive into the Remaster project. Now, they just announced this last month, and some of you have heard me talk about this in other videos. But in this video today, I want to kind of go over the two books and what you're going to get inside them, their prices and their release dates. So this is information all been validated by people who've parsed all the streams, put this information on Reddit, or released it or spoke about it specifically from Paizo, and we'll even have those source links for you too. So I'm excited about this. I tell you what, I'm excited. I love something new. I love it when someone will take something that is done and then they will update it, streamline it, make it better, improve it. And the fact that they're branching away from Wizards of the Coast, to me, is long overdue. I mean, the guys at Paizo got their big start with doing OGL content, and the first Pathfinder game is an OGL game basically for D&D 3.5. So this remaster, this is really their own original game anyway. But there's a couple of really crazy changes they're doing in here. So let's dig into things and get moving right away. And leave a question or comment below, or add to the information. Sometimes if I say something in here that's wrong, that I've looked up and I got wrong information, please correct it, because we want other people who read the comments to be sure they have the right information. You can see right behind this title logo here, this is the art by Wayne Reynolds for the two ones. The book on the right and the book on the left are supposed to come out at the same time. They've taken what used to be the primary core rule book and sort of split it in half, but stealing some parts from the Game Master Guide. So both these books are pretty thick. Let's look into the details here, right? So there's 4 books, all right? You're getting 2 soon, but there's actually 4 as part of the release schedule. And here is a direct quote from them, right? 4 new hardcover rule books offer a fresh entry point to the Pathfinder 2nd Edition role-playing game. The first 2 books, the Player Core and the Pathfinder GM Core, which you see behind the screen here, comes out this November. I think pre-orders in October. For them to get that thing to press, it's June now. I say June the 9th, July, August, September, October. So that 3 months to wrap this thing up and probably get it to a press. I believe they print most of their books in China too. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. Let's hope there's no wars that happen between now and then that would interfere with our role-playing games, right? So after this, next year, they're thinking March, then April, May, June, July. They're going to come up with the Pathfinder Monster Core and then the Pathfinder Player Core 2. Now, if you've been playing Pathfinder since 2019, not 1999, that's a Freudian slip, since 2019, you've now gotten the Advanced Player Guide, right? You may have seen on my Facebook page us saying, hey, look, they just got another copy print run of the Advanced Player Guide. This doesn't mean that you're screwed. Like, if you're just playing classes that are only in the Advanced Player Guide, some of those actually have leaked into what's going to be this Player Core. Let's get into that information, right? There's the 2 covers. They're beautiful. The Player Core cover, just my personal preference, it's kind of anonymous looking. The one on the left has so much consistent color scheme everywhere with this aqua teal, and even the character's got this aqua teal color, like he's controlling this wyvern or dragon or whatever it is that's behind him. The beautiful, like, purple and red at the very bottom right hand corner, it's just fantastic. This and the mist, that piece of artwork to me is just absolutely stellar. It's just fantastic. The one on the right, you have the big red dragon with the holes in its wings, or whatever this monster is. Someone probably knows what it really is. Fighting on some ruin, the players are all running forward, their mouths are all open. They're always doing that. They're always going like, big battle and everything. It's okay, but Merciel in the front looks kind of goofy and out of proportion. It's a cool cover. It's just not awesome. The one on the left is absolutely freaking amazing. The only thing I would criticize that is that the guy's face looks screwed up. Everything else is just beautiful. I'd love that on my wall as a painting. So here's the books, right? They are not going to be cheap, unfortunately. The first one, the Player Course, 464 pages, right? $59.99. Oh God, that's expensive. But it's a new book. They're having to revamp everything. The thing about this kind of bugs me slightly, right? The money and the time it takes to create the book, and if they're going to redo all the art, if they're redoing all the art, like every single piece of artwork is not being repurposed from the previous books, no problem, right? The amount of time and energy it takes to edit and rewrite and redesign and fix things, no problem. That takes man hours of work. But they're starting from a game they've already finished. So it's kind of like, why is it not $39.99 or $49.99? We'll see. Maybe they'll change it. I'm going to buy it because I'm a big supporter of what they do. They're the only independent role-playing game publisher who makes games I actually want to play besides Mongoose. We'll do a whole video series on Mongoose Travelers. It's godlike these days. So, but what are you going to get in here? If you read the bullet points, it says, let's talk about that, right? But before we do that, remember the GM core, it's only 336 pages. It's a little bit smaller, but it's still $59.99. So you're talking like 120 bucks out of pocket to get both these books. Hopefully that's not going to happen again for another 10 years. Okay, so just take 10 years, that's 120 months, and divide it by your total $120 expenditure. So you're paying $10 a year for this thing. No big deal. But what are you really going to get? What matters to you as a player or as a game master? Well, it's this, the classes. So the order that the classes are being re-released is different than you would anticipate. They're not following the same models before. When they released the core rulebook, they had like, Ranger and Rogue and Champion was in there, and Witch and Investigator and Oracle, they weren't there. They were advanced classes. Well, they've kind of stolen two from here and stolen two from there. So let's take a look. The Core 1, this is the book that comes out this year, supposedly in November. You're going to get, from the upper left-hand corner, the Bard. Next to them is the Cleric. Then you've got the Druid. You've got the Fighter. Ranger on the bottom row. Rogue. And then Oracle's, Witch is in there. And then the Wizard. So you've got one advanced class in the core rulebook. I would almost guess that they decided to do that because of how much reworking of the magic schools that you may see, the spell schools, that they wanted to make this class as probably being affected the most by it. I'm not really sure. Maybe it was a popularity thing. Maybe they found that the Witch is like one of the most popular classes of all, and that the Investigator is not that popular, so he can just stay in the other guide. But this has taken the slot of the Champion in some ways. So in Core 2, you got the Alchemist, who used to be in the core rulebook. Barbarian used to be in the core rulebook. Champion used to be in the core rulebook. Then you got Investigator, who is the Advanced Player's Guide, and then the Monk, who used to be in the core rulebook. And then you've got the Oracle, who used to be in the Advanced Player's Guide, and then you've got the Sorcerer, who've been moved from the core rulebook into this second core 2, and then you've got this Swashbuckler. So you got 5 classes. What? Right? 5 classes. The Alchemist, the Barbarian, the Champion, the Monk, and the Sorcerer that you're not getting with the core rulebook. You're only getting the Witch. So it's like they've stolen so much. But I think they've done this. Notice that this is symmetrical, right? 8 in one book, 8 in the second book. Can we just have all of it? It seems weird. It seems weird to me that like the classes that you've already designed and figured out that weren't associated with advanced classes are being distributed into the Core 2 book. But some of them are martial classes, like the Barbarian and mostly the Champion and Monk. But if you're reworking the magic, I didn't get it. I would love to find out why. I would really love to find out why. Maybe someone heard something in one of the PaizoCon streams or something that said why. In essence, you're going to fork out $60, and you're going to be kind of 5 classes that you used to have will be gone or not available. I guess we should say they're not gone. But you get the Witch instead. And then all those 5 classes appear in the next book, which then has the former advanced classes, Swashbuckler, Oracle, and Investigator. But, these guys know what they're doing. They're a game publisher. I'm not. I'm a video game guy. For me, I always have this massive passion to be a player. Like, I'm always putting myself in a day-to-day basis of every game I work on. It's like, is this cool for the player? Is this cool for the player? Will they understand it? Will they be excited about it? Will they find out how it works? Will they have to wait for something? Will there be anything annoying? Will there be something like, oh my God, take my money? Like, all those kinds of things, because when you're creating games, you're creating them for other people. So I guess they decided to do this maybe because they wanted to have a 8-8 split, and they wanted to have the value for Core 2. And they're trying to get it out by March. So whatever. So you have December, January, February, March. So 4 months later, you're getting Core 2. I just don't know why. I can't figure it out. But hey, maybe you know the answer. If you know the answer, please put a comment below and tell everyone, because I'd love to know why. It feels funny to me. Because imagine if someone's playing the game right now in a campaign and they're playing a Barbarian with a Champion and an Alchemist and a Monk and a Sorcerer in their group. And that just happens to be their full group, right? And they're going to be like, our game session, the new books came out, it's December, we got a Christmas break, maybe a bunch of guys got out of school from college or high school, and they're going to have their game session. Like, well, let's just use the old books. But I got the new book because the new book doesn't have my Monk and doesn't have my Champion in it. So I don't understand that. It's strange. Just because I don't understand something doesn't mean it sucks, though. So don't take it the wrong way. There's probably reasons behind this. I just don't know what the reasons are. But that's very interesting. So think about that. So, when Core Rulebook 1 comes out, you're going to be missing 5 of the classes that you got before in the old core rulebook. All right, let's move on for this, not get too hung up on it. Ability scores. We'll wrap this up here. There's two major changes that slipped under my radar. There are no more ability scores. No more strength, no more dexterity, no more constitution, no more intelligence, no more wisdom, no more charisma, no more charisma. That's your tried and true advanced Dungeons & Dragons, original Dungeons & Dragons, second edition, third edition, 3.54, 5, and whatever the damn thing they're making now is. No more ability scores. Now you're just going to have pure modifiers. So will they use the words? They probably won't use the words. Will they just have 3 saving throws? Will they have to rename them too, like reflex saves and all that? Will they have to rename them too? That will be really neat to see. As a game designer myself, who dabbles in role-playing game design, I'm interested to see how they handle this. In my World War II game, Decimation, which is like $4 or $5, grab it on my store. It's a really cool World War II role-playing game. Really nasty combat with weapons. When I designed that game, I was like, you know what? Men and women, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds in World War II, it wasn't about what your strength and your intelligence and your dexterity was. Kind of like the way it is in Traveler. It's all about, can you shoot a damn gun? Do you have any experience in the field? Are you green? Do you know what you're doing? So I like that idea. I don't have a problem with not having ability scores. Ability scores can come in handy when you're trying to derive additional statistics. Like in melee combat, it's a big, big, big deal. But anyone in the modern world can be taught to shoot a firearm. And that's what soldiers are taught to do. So will this be bad? I don't know. I guess what they'll do is they'll come up with some kind of way for you to generate some numbers that will then give you pure modifiers. How do you remove ability scores completely from the game and then have them thematically? Like instead of saying there will be new ability scores, the writing on the wall from the Reddit thread that people have pinned is that they're being removed and you're just going to be replaced with pure modifiers. So how will you determine that when you roll up your character? There will be no more ability boosts, and then will your choices about backgrounds and your ancestry and all that will it make any difference anymore? That will be really neat to figure out. And I bet that's one of the big things they're trying to how do they do that, because they got to separate themselves from the OGL. Last thing, spell levels. Level 3 spell, level 4 spells, level 7 spells are being replaced with spell rank. That's not that big of a deal. I mean, ranks and renown ranks and Warhammer. I mean, everyone's used the word rank a lot. A lot of games use the word rank. You're rank 7. I use the word battle rank, and in battle rank and 8 modifiers in my game. So, hey, that's not a big deal. But that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in the video. So I hope that you find this information useful. I'm trying to put it together in a way that's really easy to digest. It's not like a 2-hour video. A couple of quick notes. Let's go back to the Player Core 1. Okay, that's up a few slides up. Let's go up to your Player Core 1. Ancestries, I forgot to mention this. So these are like the races, right? Human, dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, Lishi, and orc. Who wants to play a Lishi? It's weird. Anyway, ancestries in Player Core 2. Okay, in this one, what are you getting? Catfolk, gnoll, hobgoblin, kobold, lizard folk, rat folk, and tengu. I would never play any of those. I'm just so boring and old school. I don't want to play a tengu. I used to kill those guys in World of Warcraft and Burning Crusade. Why do I want to play one of those guys? But there's a lot of people that like to play these wacky. I played a game where some guys played some wacky Giplies and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, knock yourself out. But that's interesting. So reminder, one more time. Core Rulebook 1, human, dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, Lishi, and orc. Player Core 2, catfolk, gnoll, hobgoblin, coblin, lizardfolk, ratfolk, and tengu, which is like crowboy. All right, that's pretty much the information here. Oh, yes, the one more piece of information I want to share with you, I forgot. The Alchemist, which is in Core 2, the Champion, which is in Core 2, the Oracle, which is in Core 2, and the Witch, which is in Core 1, are all getting remastered. Now, what does that mean? Probably reinvented from the ground up. Probably something very, very different about them that was too heavily reliant upon OGL before that's going to be reinvented now. In the long run, the good thing about all these changes, the math will be the same. So they're going to have to make it where the same kind of mathematical numbers work out. They're just going to make some aesthetic and nomenclature changes. I think it's going to be cool. I can't wait. I'm actually really invigorated by this because it's going to see, I love seeing a game developer solve some interesting problems to go strike out on their own and become independent. The only way this really backfires on you at all is just people that don't have a lot of money. Some people, younger folks and stuff, they have working a full-time job or going to school. They don't have a lot of extra cash. And sometimes even adults are working jobs that don't pay good and they don't have 120 bucks sitting around. But maybe they'll be able to pick it up for Christmas. It's close to the Thanksgiving and Christmas, so maybe there'll be a Black Friday sale. You can always get these things on PDF. It's usually like $15 on PDF. Hopefully, they do the same thing they did when they released the core rulebook. It was only $14.99 on PDF for like the first year, and then it went up to $20. So that's pretty much it. I want to make sure you got a good insight on what these two books are coming out, and the fact that there's 4 books coming out, because this is going to be a really interesting year this year. And I can't wait to do more content to support you guys and keep you entertained. Have fun, and we'll talk to you later.